Hey everybody, welcome to the B-side. This is Brad here, and we're going to be kind of playing around with some stuff that's not just sculpting. We're going to go beyond some of the stuff we do on the Stylus League, typically just to kind of like vary it up a little bit. And what I'm going to be doing is mostly kind of like working on the process of creating an animated short. This is kind of what I typically do. I'm more of an animator and a rigger, and the stuff I do professionally is usually rigging or animating. So the guys are nice enough to let me come in and sculpt, but my real area is really animation and stuff. And what I like to do more often than not is create animations, right? So like I do animated shorts, and it's been a while since I've done one, but that's kind of what I'm looking to get back into doing again. And it takes a long time to do. The last one I did was Burger Time. That took about 6 years on and off. So it's kind of an involved process. And what I want to do is kind of get back and doing that again, because it really is fun to do. It's just a matter of finding a way of making it manageable time-wise, right? So what I'm really going to be using the B-side for a lot is to kind of basically go through the process of making a short. And it's going to be a little bit of character creation, obviously. So we're going to be doing some sculpting, but also I kind of want to do a little bit of rigging and animating, just kind of going through the process of making a short, throughout the entire thing. And I have an idea for a short, which I think is going to be kind of funny, and it involves kind of this Dungeons and Dragons-y thing where there's the little thief, and the thief has to kind of open the door to the main treasure, and she has a little bit of an issue. And I have some ideas as to how to kind of turn this into a short, which is kind of fun to watch. And that's kind of where I'm headed with this. So what I want to do really is kind of start the process of making the characters. And this is the main character that I just kind of blocked out. Everything here is just going to be rough. I'm just trying to kind of get an idea as to the overall dimensions and what kind of character I want to kind of play around with. I want to kind of just get a feel for the overall look. So first of all, guys, thanks so much for showing up already. I can see Jorge here, Gus is here, Jamie, 3D Manic, B. Again, so much, so great to see you guys here. Thanks for showing up and kind of making this first little stream kind of a fun one already. And again, this is really, I'm using this really as an excuse to kind of like dive into making a short again, kind of going through that process. And, because I'm going to be doing a bunch of different things, if there's any questions about anything that I can maybe throw out some ideas for, absolutely just ask. We're all still learning, probably. I know I am. And this is just kind of, this is a very chill way to go about doing this. I'm not, there's no rush on doing a short because it takes forever to do. This is not going to be done today. It's not going to be done probably for quite some time. So hopefully, if the folks at the Stylus League don't mind me hanging around doing this on a regular basis, hopefully we'll get to see, the process kind of go from start to, if not finish, close to finish. I had actually started a short about 3 years ago, right after Burger Time was done, and the problem with that one was it was just too big. I got a lot done. I was like 3 minutes in, but I was like 8% done the actual short, so it was not going to work out. By the time I finished it, I would have hated the first half of it, because I would have gotten hopefully better enough to be disdainful of everything I had done from that point. So what I want to do with this one is kind of be a little bit more logical in terms of how big the scope is, but that's going to kind of allow me to play around a lot with these characters and animate them. And again, I want to kind of just talk about the process of making a character rig, not just to move around, because a lot of folks, can use like an auto rigger in Blender or Maya or what have you, and get the basic skeleton set up and the control set up. But what's most fun about rigging is creating things that are customized to the character, right? Expressions, to make them able to talk and that kind of thing, testing out the actual kinds of animations that you might want to do. And there are certain challenges with characters like this, characters with coats that are long, a lot of characters like D&D characters, they got straps and belts and all kinds of stuff that can be a real pain when it comes to rigging and animating. So bunch of stuff like that hopefully, again, if it comes up, if you have an auto rigger, for example, but there are parts of that rig that might not kind of like play well with that, there are some little things that I would suggest to do that have worked for me in the past and hopefully will work for you guys as well. So again, this is the idea here, right? So I've already kind of like, I've blocked out the 3D Matic. Thank goodness, B. I'm glad, again, rigging and animating, it's a weird thing because it's not something that's necessarily as immediate. When you're as sculpting, you can see when you're sculpting, something comes into play. But rigging and animating, it's a little bit of a time-consuming thing. But part of the challenge, I think, is that you don't get to see people do it very often. So how would you know, what to do? And when I took this character here, again, I brought it into Maya. I exported out basically the basic shapes. This is like, again, none of these shapes are probably are final, but it gave me the overall proportions so I can start kind of blocking out the bones, right? And again, the blocking out the bones stuff is stuff that the auto rigger will do if you have one of those. Presumably that's kind of a straightforward thing, but the other stuff is where we're going to kind of get a little bit more involved. Yeah, again, all the straps and the belt. Ram, look at you. You see it? All the straps, whatever you see, and I'm going to tell you right now, folks, if you're ever making stuff for a rigger, certain things to keep in mind. Straps that go this way, I know they look cool, and I know that a lot of characters have them. Maybe not. That being said, I'm sure I'm going to have a strap on this person. Hoods and capes, those are kind of fun to play around with because they're kind of straightforward in terms of how you can kind of make a custom rig. But all the stuff that go across the torso, we can try to avoid that if we can, or at the very least, when you're making it, keep in mind that someone's going to have to rig it, and we'll talk about ways to maybe make that more manageable. Also, when it comes to the feet, this is something that me anyway, as a rigger, drives me nuts. I know that typically when you create a character, you have them stand in like this wide stance, the legs on an angle, the feet angled out a little bit. It's a little bit tricky when you're doing leg bones. You want to have the leg bones in a nice straight line. And if you have to put them on an angle, then they're going to be angled. If you have to rotate the foot outward, it's just one, then the knee's going to kind of want to go outward. It's a little bit of a strange thing. So ideally, if you can, have the legs go straight. Just straightforward. I know it might look a little silly, but that's not where they're going to stay. They're just going to, just helps the rigger put things together. So at this point here, I blocked out the face shape. I just want to kind of get a feel for this character. I wanted to kind of make it a little bit cartoony because, again, the idea behind the short is that she's going to have trouble. She's going to have a lot of trouble doing what she wants to do, getting in, kind of getting the lock picked while her party is waiting. And they're going to be getting attacked while they're waiting, and there's going to be a little bit of tension there. But she's going to have a lot of expressions of frustration, puzzlement, and so forth. So I want to make it a face that's kind of simple enough that I can kind of scrunch it quite a bit while I'm working on it. So again, this is just a blocked out thing. Colors and everything else, still just playing around with that. But this is kind of where I am right now. I want to kind of just block out all the shapes. And the good thing is because I'm rigging it, I can add the other accessories at any point, right, and just kind of add them on because it's not going to mess up the original rig. So again, at this point, I'm just going to start playing around with adding some refinement to this. There's definitely going to be some straps. I said straps are bad, but we still need to have them because it's a D&D character, and those kinds of things. So that's kind of what today is going to be. It's just going to be kind of feeling out the forms and the overall look of the character, so it's not quite so boring. I'm kind of going for a semi-cartoony feel, so I'm not trying to go for hyper-realism here, but I'm trying to find a stylized way to kind of give these impressions here. So that's where I am. I'm going to focus right now on the coat and these little wrist bracey things here because you have to have the little wrist bracey things. It's vitally important. So I just blocked them in using a little cylinder here, and for the all the stuff that I'm doing for the body, and again, I know people do it different ways. Every article of clothing I'm doing here, I'm just duplicating the body and then chopping off the faces I don't want, so that I'm left behind with something that kind of conforms to that body, right? So this is where I am right now. And what I just did, I brought this little coat into Maya, and I did some UVs for it. And one of the things I want to do is kind of get a feel for maybe making it feel a little bit more ragged. So you can see I have it kind of UV'd out. I don't know how great that is. I unfolded it. That's what it looks like, and I exported it out as a document here as a JPEG, and I brought it in and I kind of put this little black area down here as kind of like a test for where the rips and stuff will be, because in ZBrush, you can use that as a guide, right? As a to kind of like make this transparent. So when I apply this and then come up here and turn on transparency, right, it'll just kind of make it look transparent. And that's, of course, you can just plug that same kind of thing into your opacity slider and your texture. Jamie, do you need to be mindful of poly count while creating the character? Heck yes, very, very, very mindful of it. And now again, it depends on what it is. Like things like the face, absolutely, right? The face here is 1,700 points. That's going to be the one that I bring in to rig, because again, the fewer points, the better. The better it's going to deform. If it's something that's not going to need to bend a lot, like for example, these little wrist bracey things here, for the most part, they're just going to be moving with the forearm. So I don't need to be overly concerned about that. I can, I don't think I need to have them be too high res, but things like that, things that are metal, things that are hard surface and aren't going to bend, then sure, go nuts, because you don't have to worry about deforming it. Because like when you bind bones to a mesh, right, every vertex on that mesh has like percentages of influence for the bones applied to it. So like depending on how many points you have, the data can be crazy high and it could really slow things down. So yeah, you want to kind of keep things really, really low res if you can, and no double-sided things if you can help it. So for example, these little flaps down here, they look double-sided, and if you rig something like that, it's a really horrible thing to deal with, because the inside and the outside, they don't like to work together. This is just dynamic subdiv. I have this, this one-sided. Another thing to keep that in mind. One-sided is the way to go. Ben, what's up, man? Good to see you here. Thanks so much for showing up. Johan, awesome. Again, thank you for showing up. This is really cool to kind of get started and kind of feel like, all right, this is Stylus League-ish. We have folks here, and again, big thanks to Bradley, Mike, and Raul for letting me take up their airwaves for this little maiden voyage here. All right, so again, I just want to kind of get a feel for how these things are going to kind of overlap and work together. I want her to kind of seem, obviously, like she's going to be kind of diminutive. The thieves and stuff like that in D&D are always kind of the small ones, the halflings and so on. But I also want that to kind of be, when she's not coming through in the clutch, I want the fighters and the magic users around her, the other characters are going to be making, to feel really big and kind of like, intimidating. So I want these clothes to kind of feel a little bit big for her. In a way. So again, this is almost like just the theory behind some of the stuff here. But I'm going to come here and I'm going to try to avoid doing any Z modeling on this, even though I want to add a few more points, just because I already have the UVs and I don't have to worry about that being a problem. So I'm just going to kind of start thinking about where I want to have some little, like, I want this to feel big and bulky, so I want to have some folds here. I am just going to see if I can crease this. I don't think creasing makes the stuff go away. Let's make sure the crease tolerance is higher. Let's see here. Nope. Okay, good. So I wasn't sure, because Zmon is a little bit weird. The UVs, ZBrush is weird with UVs. If you do anything, even if you just like selecting faces, sometimes the Zmon gets a little bit goofy. I'm going to use this brush that Mike uses, this Happy Trails brush. Mine says Standard Trails, but it's a standard brush, and it has the Trails modifier turned up. If you're not sure what that is, it's basically this little thing where it's under your brush modifiers. There's a trail slider, and basically it just kind of like almost redoes the stroke as you're doing it. It just kind of makes it a little bit more. It's almost like doing like the stroke again, but it does it as you're pulling it out. Like the slower you go, I think the more it kind of like rebuilds over top of it, which is cool. Yeah, when it comes to the weight painting, no matter what, it just seems like it's always a losing battle to try and kind of get those inside and outside ones to work together. It just seems to never work. Even when I do things like if I use a lattice, which theoretically should just kind of have an overall effect, it still doesn't seem like it wants to work. So I will never ever have that. If I ever get a mesh like that, and I have, I try to surreptitiously just delete the inside faces, or apply a material to them that's transparent, so you don't have to worry about it if they kind of poke through. Zerjan, I hope so. Yeah. Again, like I said, what's really cool about this is and I'm sure everyone can kind of relate. You know, if you know it's scheduled, then you're gonna do the work. And I, if I know that I get to stream this, then it's like, okay, cool, I can get some extra work done because I'm going to be streaming. And when you're doing a short, an animated short, especially if you're kind of doing it solo, um, it's a crap load of work, and it's really easy to kind of like just take some time away. And if I'm doing this like on a stream, then it's going to be a lot more. It's going to be a lot easier to kind of like keep myself focused um, on moving forward with this. Oh, B, you're talking about that Gia brush. I totally got that brush. It looks awesome. I haven't tried it much yet, just because I just took it for a test run. I even put it in my standard brushes here, and of course, I have no idea what it's called. I thought it was Gia, but gotta find it now. But yeah, that brush, it feels like the J-cut brush, which is kind of another version of Damn Standard, but it seems like it's a little bit more intense, which I love. Like it kind of hits a little bit harder than the J-cut brush does. So it's a softer version of Damn Standard, but a more intense version of J-cut, and that's again, that's just the sweet spot, because it's good to have that little variety, that kind of spectrum of strength in the thing. I can't find that brush. I have it. I got to find out what's it actually called, because I can't find it. I can't find it. I thought it was. I know it's the Geo inspired brush, but it doesn't begin with the G as the name. So I got to find out what the name actually is, so I can kind of like use the shortcut to find it in my little brush palette there. What I like to do when I'm trying to get a little stylized with like folds and stuff, and this is totally a cheat, but I like to use the lasso, the mask lasso, and literally just kind of lasso out triangular shapes like this and have them be like really hard edged. I don't know why, I just like the way it looks. It's it's not subtle by any stretch of the imagination, and that's kind of why I like it. Sometimes if I try and get too cute with it, it just feels a little bit boring. And sometimes, again, it's like with a pose. It's always better to kind of push the pose a little bit. And when I'm trying to stylize stuff, it's always better to get a little bit crazy with it. I'm going to see if I can get inside here a little bit. And this is going to be another little thing. Again, this who knows how much of this is going to actually show up when I send out the low res version. I think enough of it will. And I know that there are better ways to get normal mattes and stuff like that, probably Substance. I don't have Substance anymore. I mean, I think I still have the original, the one that you got before they became Adobe, but I don't know. Let's see if I have that. VGeo software, Jamie. Thank you. All right, let's see. There it is. All right, yeah. This brush is awesome, man. Like, I mean, it's just like I said. It kind of it's like a more intense version of the J-cut brush. The J-cut brush well, maybe it's not more intense, but the J-cut brush has a different feel to it. It's kind of has a little bit more of these sharper edges. But yeah, the Geo brush, it feels nice. And once you have a lot of, and especially probably good, just like J-cut, it's really good when you use it with the Alt key to kind of get nice little pinched lines. Might increase the intensity a little bit too. It's really low intense by default, so just kind of use that, because yeah, I'm glad you guys reminded me, because as soon as I got that brush, like, okay, I gotta definitely use that, and then I forgot about it. Which is pretty much what happens to me constantly with ZBrush. Whenever there's a new thing, a new feature, it's like, okay, it's going to be the most amazing thing ever, and then by the time I get ZBrush, I completely forget that it even exists. Yeah, so this is kind of the idea here. I wanted to kind of play around with her having like oversized clothing. So this is kind of a blocked out version of that. Everything that I do, I'm going to kind of tell myself, whether it's true or not, that this is just the early stages and not to get too upset if it looks goofy. I don't know about you guys. I say that all the time, and then I end up not changing it, and it was pretty much just that way the entire time. Now I'm going to try and do here an indication of kind of like a seam. I don't want to actually sculpt the seam. Andres, yeah, that is Pablo's new brush. Very nice. He made it free, which is awesome. But yeah, those. I mean, gosh, guys, if you're not going to ZBrush guides on the regular, you're missing out because it's pretty awesome. Like you just got such awesome stuff there. I'm just going to see about gently inflating over this little line just to kind of give me a little indication of a little seam there. I'm really trying to kind of not overdo it. One, because again, like sculpting is it's tricky for me. It's not always that great at kind of finding ways to economize detail. I tend to either just go too high res too fast, like I'm doing right now, or I just kind of say I'll just let the texture do it. So this is Jamie. This is the sketch. When I try and draw stuff, things go horribly wrong. I end up because like the idea of the idea of sketching presumably is to quickly give yourself an idea as to how something's going to look. Since I don't really have the ability to sketch very well, it does not really serve that purpose. I very rarely sketch in such a way as to actually help myself get a better indication of what's going on. Usually what I end up doing is just reminding myself why I typically just sculpt instead. Because I honestly, like I'd be faster just sculpting a dynamic sphere than trying to get my sketch right. Like people who can do that, people who can just sit down and just kind of knock out like thumbnail sketches quickly. I don't know how they do it. It's kind of it's kind of frustrating that. I mean, I suppose you'd have to just practice a lot. Or you could just come in and ZBrush and sculpt and get the best get the same result in less time for me. But also, again, because I'm doing this for an animation, it almost makes sense to me to kind of to sketch it out in 3D. It's because, like, drawing, you can hide all kinds of problems, and you can kind of hide all kinds of problems that you might not have thought of, or you don't want to have to worry about figuring out. But then when you start to model it, then there's you can't really avoid that anymore. That's actually kind of why, again, obviously you could sketch and do turnarounds and all that kind of stuff. But again, if you're comfortable sketching, if you're Mike Thompson, then you can do that. If you're me, it's like, well, let's see what Dynamax can come up with. Thinking about too whether or not I want to kind of like give this a texture, like an actual leathery feel, like maybe like a noise pattern. Totally a huge fan of just using surface noise for virtually everything. I come here and change this to UV, and then I come here to my alphas again, like using noise, even if it's just, again, to give yourself a little bit of a preview of how it might look. It's so awesome. I have, again, if you can find tileable alphas, that's where it's at. I have a bunch of tileable alphas here that I just pop into this and, see what I can come up with here. I don't know if I want, this is kind of her coat. So I don't think it'd be leather. It might be linen. It could be leather. Let's try this. Turn off basic noise. Turn the scale down. And let's see what we get here. Something like that. Not so bad. Get some. I see alkanes new generate for fabric and substance. I see. I have to get on with Tony Gore and Bradley and Michael like this about, because they use substance and they do awesome stuff in it. And I, again, it's one of those things where I learned to use it a long time ago, and then I stopped using it just because I think I was working on an animation and I didn't need to use it anymore, and for the time being anyway. And now I kind of like I vaguely know how to use it, obviously, to kind of paint and use like the masks and stuff. But when it comes to things like generators, I think I've seen it done. and that's the extent of it. I don't know, like it's kind of a mystery to me. I have to kind of like reacquaint myself with substance. Substance is one of those things I remember when I finally started using it again. I was like, okay, yeah, this makes sense. And so long as I didn't stop using it, I kind of, it stayed with me. But once I stopped using it, I kind of forgot half of it. I'm gonna have to kind of get that back. I'm gonna get my little paintbrush here, and again, I have a low intensity of my RGB. I'm gonna set the poly paint. I have the exact same color. I'm gonna set my poly paint mode to multiply, so you get kind of like a shadowy version here, which is kind of cool. And again, like it's one of those cool. I'm gonna turn off noise for a second so you can see. Oh, it's not going to show up because I have my texture map turned on. Let's turn it on for a second. But that multiply is such an awesome little secret thing they have here for these brushes. Because I never see it anywhere. Like I never see it like used a lot because I think they just hide it under the brush modifiers. I think it's brush. Is it brush or is it? Yeah, I think it's brush. Go to brush, alpha, and texture, and they have the poly paint mode. And again, that's not just for multiply, which is awesome, but it's also really good for colorize, because if you like are painting over something that has black on it as well, if you just have it set to colorize, it'll ignore the black and just change the color. So it's almost like doing a hue adjustment, which is awesome because again, you can, of course you can do hue adjustments now using your poly paint thing, but if you want to try a different way, it's also possible. I'm gonna come here, and this is really, it's that same color just with a little bit of darkness. This is going to be kind of like a way of dirtying it up. And again, like, yeah, I'll probably end up kind of like getting in the substance when I do actual texturing for her, but I kind of just want to get a feel for how this might look. It's too damn hot. B, where are you? Because I'm in New Jersey and it's cold out here today, which is awesome. Is that Raul? What's up, man? I want to figure out what to do with the neck. See, what I'm planning on doing, one of the reasons this is kind of like blah. Oh, you're in Canada, Toronto. Okay, so are there fires? Like, are there a lot of fires around you right now? Because I know that we were getting a lot of smoke. I think it was last week from that. That's crazy. Oh, bro, you're in Florida, I think. So yes, that makes sense. I think my plan was for the neck. I was going to kind of give her like a neck wrap, like a scarfy thing, kind of like she's going to have like the thieves in D&D have that little face covering. I was in Montreal, right? Okay. Yeah, that is the downside. Summer is great in the sense that I do not have to go into work and teach the hungry young minds. We're gonna pretend that exists, but It'd be nice if summer were or winter, because when it comes to the heat, I'm not a happy person. Yo, Frederick, what's up, man? Yeah, again, guys, really appreciate you guys stopping by. Just trying to block out a character that I can then kind of like just start. I want to kind of get rigging with the character as soon as I can, just because when I see the character walking and kind of like doing things, I get a better feel for what might be missing. So this is the. I'm going to make this into kind of like the mask that she would wear on her face. And again, I'm not even. I might even have that be something she can pull down as she begins her lock picking in the thing. Bro, you don't understand. When I smile, it's not good for anybody. It's not good for anybody. It's hot in Portugal. Yeah, I would imagine so. I mean, God, like that's everywhere in the Mediterranean seems like it's really getting hot, like more than usual. And I imagine it was always that way. But I was going for the serious look, Raul. I don't know what I don't know what you want with me. This is I'm a serious man. When it comes to with the photos. Well, the thing is, Jorge, the thing is, I am taking the picture of myself because it's always just me, and I wouldn't ask it. So I just think it's weird to be smiling to myself. I'm with someone who is taking a picture, where I can be like, sure, this is a person whose company I enjoy. But if you see a person just standing there grinning, you probably would take a few steps back. It's just my guess. I'm conscious of the fact that I probably look like a madman. So I'm going to think of this as being kind of like her mask that then she'll kind of bring down. So what I think I might do. See, B, thank you. See, I need to have someone help me out here. I bet you if I do transpose cloth, would that kind of like squash it down? Not that way. I gotta figure out a little bit about this transpose cloth thing. I just can't figure. Yeah, I have other. The problem. There's two possible problems. Either the pictures don't look like me, or they do look like me, and I actually look like that. And I'm not sure which situation is more troubling, if I'm being honest. Now I'm going here to I'm going to see here if I can contract a little bit. I contract this. Well, bro, the Mona Lisa, she has a knowing grin. I don't know for sure whether we would call that a smile. I can do that. I can do a knowing, mysterious grin. It'll make you wonder, what's going on in my mind. I can work that. I can work with that. That's workable. Let's see if I can do I'm going to see if I can do a cloth thing, because why not? Oh, it could be a little rough. Could be a little bit much here. What is happening there? Why is it doing that? Oh no. All right, match this whole part out. For some reason. There you go. Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. only part of that to work. All I wanted. I'm gonna go. See, does transpose cloth still do something? No, transpose cloth causes all kinds of problems. I'm sure I'm missing something here, but that's okay. I wanted to have a little neck thing going on here to kind of give a little bit of visual interest to the top of her here. I'm going to kind of bring this in a little bit. Oh, speaking of Raul and the whole thing, just wanted to let you guys know that the Stylus League store is now accessible through YouTube. So, like right at the YouTube channel, there is a link right to the store. So I'm going to post that link right there in the chat. That will get you straight to the store, and you can kind of, you can attend to all of your Stylus League accoutrement needs if you're so inclined. I myself have always felt, I'm watching YouTube. What I really want to do is shop. And now my prayers have been answered. I can just shop my heart. And I will find, I still haven't found the beanie that I own, that I have. I don't know where it is. I don't know where it is. I need to find it because I feel like I should be wearing it while I'm on the stream. I mean, my house has like 3 places in it, and it's in none of those 3 places. So this is why I get confused. Hi, Mari Cat. Oh, okay. So I don't know if you can tell, but folks, just so you know, there's apparently a bird outside my window, and my cat is trying to get past my monitor. Okay, never mind. It's all good. The bird will survive, but I wasn't sure my monitor would, and it's all good. So what I think I'll do with this is my mask here. What I'm going to do is I want to have a version of this that I can actually have over her face. But I also want to have a version of it which is going to be kind of like down around her neck. So what I'm going to do is, because I know that this is one of those things, again, while you're kind of like doing something for a rig, I want to be able to kind of have it fit over the face theoretically, or be down around the neck. So one of the best ways to do that is simply to use a blend shape, which is to have 2 versions of it with the exact same vertex count, exact same vertex ID, and just have your program, Blender, Maya, what have you, shift between the 2. So I can have her basically pull down the mask and have the blend shape of the mask on her face kind of like transition into the blend shape of it being down as she does it. And if I know that that's probably going to be the way I'm going to do it, I'm going to kind of anticipate that and have 2 versions of this right now. So I'm just going to duplicate this. So this is going to be the mask down. I hate when I do that thing where you don't let go of caps lock fast enough, and then you get that second letter. So yeah, okay. So now I'm going to duplicate this and do mask up, and that way I can have them both essentially be the same thing. I can't believe that I have not sculpted any of my cats yet. It's a weird thing. I've drawn and done several pictures of animals, and yet somehow my own cats, I'm like the shoemaker who never gives his own kids shoes. But the biggest problem now is that I can't print out anything anymore. I'm too allergic to it. Mike, I'm not sure what you're blaming the cats for, but how dare you? They're blameless and they are perfect. No, I won't have it. I won't have it. If you want to follow me on Instagram, Raul, and of course it's exciting. It's because there are occasional pictures of stuff I've sculpted interspersed with several pictures of my cats in all states. It would probably, I think I'm just Brad Groatman on Instagram. Like yeah, I think it's all it is. There aren't that many Brad Groatmans, so the name was happily available, And yeah, so that's where I might. Of course, I think Raul's trying to help me with marketing. God bless that. He's a smart guy. But yes, Brad Groatman. If you're looking for pictures of cats, you come to the right place. It's possible that they would have stolen the beanie. I could totally imagine them doing that. I could totally imagine them using that as a bed liner, or perhaps a litter box. But I don't think. I think that would be a sad commentary on this, on their thoughts about Stylus League, and given the fact that Bucky's butt is currently being showcased front and center, I think that shows a real lack of appreciation on his part for the amount of publicity he is getting. Hi, mini chicks. Trying to, okay. All right, come here, little guy. So he has this thing, Bucky does, where if he's going to be on my desk, he has to be on my tablet. Which honestly, I think he's just a critic of my art, if I'm being honest. He thinks he's performing a public service. He's just, yeah, that's okay. Come on, bud, down here. He was on my lap for the majority of the stream. I thought we were going to be good, but okay, now he's getting back. Now he's settled. He's settled again. He's on my lap. Not to worry, folks. You won't have to see his butt for a little while until he's inspired to do so again. So here's the, okay, so yeah, I'm going to have a version of the mask here on the face, which again, I haven't really finished sculpting yet, so maybe I shouldn't conform the mask to the face until I'm done with the face, but you know, it's a little dangerous to a little bit. So what I will also need to do is UV this and then copy him for the other one. Yeah, he's Ben. You must have a cat. Because not only does he go on my tablet, but then he tries to bite the pen when I have it in my hand. He's not subtle about this. So what I gotta do is I gotta tweak this. This is a little bit yucky. Also, Polyfly features, just a lifesaver. Just love it so much. My cat has not slept on it so much as just I think again he'll defiantly sit on there and just stare at me, just like, I dare you, just move me if you see if you got what it takes. Like he's I don't want to call him a brat, but he's a little bit of a brat. He's had 9 straight years of nonstop attention, and he's not about to let some stupid tablet stop that streak. I have to kind of remember that there's this awesome, you can mask by border. That is just, then just polish everything inside that. I kind of forget that sometimes. I don't know about you guys. I need to have more room to customize my workstation. I just want to put every button there, but it's kind of like, well, if I'm going to put every button there, then you may as well just not put any buttons there, because I don't know where half the stuff is on my custom UI anymore. This will be the mask. Again, I'm not going to see much of this. B, don't let them see this. Come on, man. So I'm going to do a quick, and I don't really care about the UVs here. Somewhere, I think somewhere Bradley's like looking at like, wait, someone doesn't care about UVs? I feel that whenever I do something that's got horrible topology on it, Tony just, is like, somewhere something horrible is happening. And when I do something crappy with UVs and mattes, I think that Bradley can sense that something is wrong somewhere. It's like when I make tea Now, any of you in the UK, don't hate me, but when I make tea, sometimes I will use a microwave, and I imagine that people in the UK are just like fucking terrible what's happening. I'm curious about that. I actually, this is just apropos of nothing. Someone needs to answer this question for me. I was making tea, and there was this. I was using Earl Grey, and on the Earl Grey tea bag it says "Do not microwave." My question is, are they saying? I'm telling you, Mike, he's going to come into the room one day and say, "What did you do?" Like he's just going to know. Although, guys, if you're watching, you know that Tony is a retopo guru, and he literally said yesterday about a model he was working on. I don't care about the topology. So if you heard a slight like rumbling that sounded like maybe the end times was coming, that's all that was. Not to worry. It was just the universe didn't know what to do about that because that was some messed up thing that was happening there. Anyway, let me go and find something cool for the mask. I think these little patterns here would be kind of cool. Mix basic noise. Wow, that was cool. I did not mean for that to go aqua, but anyway. Yeah, Mike, you were there. Like that was weird. Like I don't know if I can kind of like explain why that's weird. But Tony will retopologize stuff that won't even be seen by anybody, like stuff that's under clothing. And it's been a long year. It's been a long year, I think. I think Tony is Tony's Tony's feeling it. I'm gonna see does this still work, the whole enable control painting thing? I really should just take this into Maya and unwrap it, but I can't in good conscience. It's just a stinking mask. Because I mean, I've been when I do my animated shorts and stuff. I used to be like, okay, well, this is for real. So I'm going to make sure the topology is perfect and that the UVs are. And at some point, I think it's just because I do most of it like on myself, and there's no one to kind of like keep me in check. But now, man, I'm absolutely just an absolute useless artist. I just don't even bother anymore. You're not going to see it. I have to again, like, well, I think part of the problem is again if you're doing everything in an animated short yourself. That's a lot, right? You're writing it and storyboarding it and then designing everything and modeling everything and UVing everything and texturing everything and rigging and that's why things take me 6 years to finish. And then when I put them online and 6 people watch them, it's all worth it. It's all good. What am I doing? I'm doing noise here. That was my I was really slightly bitter for a while about Burger Time. I keep wanting to say Burger King. But it was really that was one of the nicest things when I first came on to the Stylus League. I got to shamelessly plug that. Got a few more views. My Star Wars piece. This is another one. I have like 75. I have to imagine I'm not the only one, but I have like 700 things where I'm like, I'm going to finish this. This is going to be awesome when it's done. And, then 6 years go by and, it's not quite the same. I decided, and again, I'm going to put the link in the chat just because, again, shame is not something I have a lot. But what I wanted to do was I wanted to animate stuff, but I didn't want to do basically the kind of exhausting texturing, rendering, all kinds of crazy stuff that you do when you're doing your own animated short. So basically, what I wanted to do was I wanted to do a primitive version of something. I wanted to kind of like do something that did not require a whole lot of crazy modeling and character design and all that kind of stuff. So what I did instead was I did this kind of very, very primitive, very primitive thing where basically I'm just doing all the I'm redoing Star Wars, but with very primitive shaped characters, like very primitive shaped characters. And I mean, I'm making my own. I'm having my own little adjustments to the story because I thought it was funny that he had nowhere to hide, so he had to sit there right in the middle. And then as soon as the stormtroopers come in, he gets blown. I'm sorry, I have to show this part because it makes me laugh. So here's the guy. The stormtroopers are coming in, taking their time. Again, very low res stuff. But as soon as they burst through the door, this guy in the middle just because if you watch Star Wars, the rebels who are supposed to be defenders do a really bad job of taking cover. So yeah, so this is I'm redoing a kind of the primitive version of Star Wars. Mike is very supportive of this. But this is one of my favorite things to do. One, because even though everything is really, really simplistic, and it really, really is, the lighting is excellent. I will say this. But anyway, so yes, I'm going to put this in the chat only because, again, shame, not in my vocabulary. But it's fun because it's animation without a whole lot of frills. It was just kind of I'm not planning anything. I'm basically just kind of taking an existing property and stealing it. So anyway, so here's so I'm doing quick little noise things here. Again, I'm going to save this noise and apply it to the other one. But yeah, for me, this is a sketch. This is me sketching out the character, and like I said, because it's a rig that's going to, the main parts are going to be done. I can come back in and tweak, add parts, whenever I want to, and not have to worry too much about having to redo anything. So I'm just going to call this mask noise. But yeah, I'm just going to play around with some really, really basic forms, like I said 1,000 times. By the way, when I keep saying the same thing over and over again about like I'm just doing this or that, it's really just me reminding, kind of trying to convince myself that yes, this will get better. It's just a little bit. Okay, so it's got a little mask down here. I'm not really sure what color it's going to be. I feel like it should be a lighter color so it stands out against the hood, but we'll see about that. They might have been trained. They just maybe never got to the part where they say you should hide behind things when someone is going to shoot at you. Although, to be fair, the stormtroopers don't exactly have like a history of being accurate. So I think that maybe they just assumed, that trend would continue. So I'm going to add a few more little things here, and then I'm going to start maybe kind of like going up to the face. This hair, again, the hair is just stuck in place. Like this is not good. This is not gorgeous hair we have going on right here. This is, I mean, I've seen better. It's just, again, I want to kind of get a feel for how it fell in the face, because when you're blocking out a face, especially a face that's supposed to be kind of cute, and it's just bald the whole time, I feel like I'm working on a baby. And it wasn't really what I was going for, so kind of had to tweak that a little bit. Arm wraps. So again, because these are not going to deform a lot, I can get a little bit more, I can get a little more crazy with this. I can start adding little trim and all that kind of stuff, and I'm going to do that. I want to actually do that little raised round leather trim on there. So I'm going to do that awesome thing where you can just frame them match. I'm going to go to my curved tube. And again, like curved tube is not low res really, but it's not going to deform, so it doesn't really matter. Stroke, curve functions, frame the border. Get My two little guys there. I'm gonna make it this brownish color. I kind of like it being nice and big like that because again, it's kind of cartoony. Tap, split. It's just a nice little way to kind of like cover up the corners and make it seem a little bit more complete. Let's go to my wraps here, and let's just, before I do anything, and this, again, this has inside and outside because it doesn't matter. It's not going to deform, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to isolate the outer parts and the little bendy parts there and make them all one polygroup. And I'll just wrap with polygroups. That way, again, it doesn't really matter where they go. I just want to have something so that if I make a texture, it'll go somewhere. Now, if I were to subdivide this, all right. So this here. Oh, you see what happened? I had symmetry turned on, so I think I got 2 of each. All right, so I was going to do an auto group really fast. I just have these. I'll delete hidden and then mirror and weld because I forgot sometimes when you do that with symmetry on, you get to. I was getting, you get that weird thing here. I think it's where the brush kind of comes together. So, you know, it needs like one extra little edge loop right there. Otherwise, it gets a little bit weird. Let's scale up just a little bit so it fits. Yeah, dude, I have the biggest problem figuring out little details. Like there are so many times when I'm working on something, I'm like, I know I'm not done. I don't know what else to do. Like I don't know what else to add. It's like whenever I see these other statues, and it just seems like there's just they somehow manage to be crazy complex and full of slight detail, but they don't feel busy. And I don't know how they do that. Because it always feels if I'm trying to kind of like make something feel complex, I'm like, yeah, but now I feel like I'm just adding stuff for the sake of adding stuff because I was adding stuff for the sake of adding stuff. And I know that's not really the best way to go about it. I just made UVs and then I added edge loops, which destroys the UVs. But I wanted to kind of keep those edges. I know you can use crease when you subdivide to kind of keep those edges, but I don't think creases transfer between programs. I don't think they transfer to Maya. So I wanted to kind of just get a feel for this, for how this looks nice and smooth here. I want it because I'm going to be using. I want like extra little straps to go around these, and if I use the low res version, I think it would kind of be. It wouldn't really match up. So I'm going to duplicate my arm wraps here. Again, this is 5,000 points. This is nothing to sneeze at, really. So I'm only down to like maybe 1,300. But again, they're not going to deform. I don't really care a whole lot. I'm going to delete the lower and higher, and I just want to have 2 straps here. So I'm just going to kind of basically select some edges from here. I just tend to use my little Z modeler and just poly loops, and just say, okay, I want those 2, and maybe these 2. I'm going to actually add an edge loop here because this is a little bit too wide for my taste. There you go. Let's get rid of that edge loop there. So now I got just these 2, and that's probably pretty good. Control Shift Tap. So these are going to be my straps, and now again, like if you know going in that certain things are not necessary, for example, these interior faces here, absolutely not necessary at all. They're not going to get in the way. They're not going to be visible at all. All they're going to do is get in the way and add points. I'm just going to delete them. I can probably do the same thing here. This guy here. I can probably do the same thing here to these interior faces. Again, no one's going to see them, so I'm just going to get rid of them. That's one of the things that I shouldn't have even had them there in the first place. But because again, if you're going to animate or rig stuff, economy of resources is key, at least for me. My arm wraps here. I'm going to select this. I want to make these a lighter brown. And again, this is just the base coat. I'm going to try and make this feel a little leathery, but I'm still kind of, like I mentioned before, this is still a sketch, right? And I'm still trying to kind of figure out exactly what kind of paint scheme I want. Like part of me wants to paint these without, not just like colors, but with actual textures and not like, I don't know if this makes any sense, but I like to kind of like maybe paint these with like non-typical textures. Like if I want to have something like leathery brown, I might find like textures that are cardboard. Just because again, I want this to feel, I want this to kind of feel homemade, if this makes any sense. I'm not trying to make this feel photoreal, obviously. But I kind of like the fact that with textures, you have a lot of flexibility with how it comes across. This is totally, because of stuff like, Into the Spider-Verse and stuff, where you can kind of like, they actually added the half cone patterns to certain things, and things like the pupil, the irises aren't perfect circles, like that kind of stuff. I just love. I plan to steal that idea. That's kind of like intentional imperfections, as opposed to my usual, which is just unintentional imperfections. Here, and I want to kind of get these a little bit more straighter here. I'm going to use the good old-fashioned transpose line and just move things. I've been using the transpose line a lot recently. It's surprising how useful that still is. I want to kind of keep going with the whole idea of layering stuff, but by the same token, I don't want to have to worry about too many layers. It's a difficult balancing act here, but all this stuff, it's not a silhouette obviously, but it's kind of, I'm trying to kind of get just a feel for the overall what you see when you first look at the character. I'm going to try and use that same little trim thing with the curve tube, stroke, frame mesh. This is one of those things too that, like, for rigging, these big belts are kind of a pain. Yeah, I mean, I really do think that's probably true. The one reason why I tend to use the gizmo a lot now is just because it's one key as opposed to going across the top of the keyboard. But it makes more sense, I think, like when you're rotating, just to kind of like crank it like it's a lever, for example. It's the one thing about it that I really, about the gizmo that I like, is that it's way easier to teach. When I'm teaching this to school students, high school students, way easier to teach the gizmo, because when I talk about the transpose line to them, you never see people more lost. I totally get it. Like it's not a really straightforward concept. Again, things like this, not really concerned necessarily too much with whether there's clearance here. Plenty of chances in the rigging process. And this coat is going to be an interesting challenge to rig as well, just because part of it needs to move with the normal body, obviously, but then there are parts, quite a bit of parts, that are going to kind of need to move separately. And since she's going to be picking a lock, there's going to be quite a bit of kneeling down and doing things like that. So that's going to be interesting. And one of the things I'm not going to do, I am not going to use a cloth sim. I refuse. I hate using cloth sims. So I'm going to need to kind of rig the jacket, the coat, to be able to kind of fold and move. And I actually kind of like doing that. I like, because again, the sims are useful and they're really cool and they're often very accurate. But when you're animating, you kind of can't animate with the sim active. The sim comes afterward, and you have to kind of like just say, okay, well, eventually there's going to be a coat doing stuff here, and that's, I mean, it's not the way to animate. So I much prefer to kind of do the initial investment of making the whole skeleton for the coat. That way I can just animate it and I can make it, hopefully make it look okay on its own. These are the pants, and I want to. I don't think they have UVs. Do they have UVs? They do not have UVs. So again, I'm going to do the same thing here. I can probably do. I'm going to go into Maya because again, these are the exact same pants. I'm just going to do UVs here really fast. That's another thing. Obviously, again, the quicker you can get the UVs done, the better. The quicker you have everything set up. If you know you're not going to change the mesh much, then just go right ahead. When I do bring these back in from ZBrush, I will probably be getting rid of these faces up top here, but that won't change the UV layout. So again, I'm sure people aren't going to like this who do UVs because I'm doing it wrong, but I just do a camera-based projection just because that way I'm looking straight at it. Then I'll just get rid of, all the stuff I don't need here. So now I just have the actual pants, and I tend to go right down the middle. I used to kind of do up in the sides, but when you do that and then unwrap it, the legs just kind of splay out. I don't like it. So I'm going to cut this, and I'm going to unfold these. Oh, I have to make sure I come down the inside of this line here, to inside the leg. UVs are not enjoyable. I'm just going to say it. They're not a good time. But they used to be way worse. They used to be way, way worse. So I unfold this. So this is each leg, and this is kind of where they would attach. So if I wanted to, I could attach them here. And then just unfold the attached version. That way there are fewer, there are fewer seams. And the only seam's going to be around the back, so it's not so bad. Just going to grab these guys. I wish I wish I was better at UVing and texturing. I really think that would probably really help, because whenever I see characters and animations that I really think are amazing, so much of it is in the maps and texturing, but I just don't know how to do it. I should probably go on an angle, but I don't care. This is fine. And again, so much of this, I don't think I'm going to be using actual textures like cloth textures and so forth. I think that I'm going to try and use kind of somewhat wait, show you the montage and attach. Let me show you sure it's not really straight and not warped. See, you're speaking another language to me, right? Right, B. I know what you mean. That's why I think, generally speaking, like I probably shy away from doing UVs just because I suck at them. There's probably, yes, there is an art to it, and I mean they're kind of. I'm sure there's a way to do this better. Yeah, I really like. This is why. I think, wait, who had said I should get an intern? Yeah, B, you said I should get an intern to do this. I should, but Who would want to? Who would want to do the stuff? I mean, God, if it's too boring even for me to do, then why would anyone want to do it? Oh, Bucky's getting up. All right, so now I have UV pants. So now I don't have to worry about here. No, B, you're not backseating anything. Again, I need all the help I can get, man. Probably gonna give her gloves. I'll turn off her jacket here. I will say, again, like there's stuff that I still hate, and hands are like rigging, and hands are such a pain. Mostly because in order to get the fingers to deform, you kind of often need more points than you typically want to have, because you have too many points, doesn't deform very well. If you have too few points, it's just a matter of where they are. And I'm trying to get those hands. I'm trying to find a way to make hands deform a little bit better. I have a different type of topology on these guys. You can see I have like on the knuckles here this kind of 3-line thing above. Exposure. I don't know how much exposure you get working with me, man. Well, I think if you want exposure, you want to look for someone who actually, has people watching now. I'm only kidding. That's again, the things I would love to doing shorts. I would love to feel like it was part of a team thing, and hopefully, once I exactly get in my mind what this is going to be, like right now, I have enough of an idea. I'm like, at some point I'll figure out this next part. At some point it'll be good. Sure, it's kind of the fool's confidence here, but I think, generally speaking, like the story is going to make sense. I just have to get better at communicating it, because again, the best way to communicate is through storyboarding, and storyboarding requires art, which is not my thing. See again, it's called the B side. I mean, it's almost like it was designed with Ben and B. Again, this is just, if your name doesn't begin with a B, you're just in the wrong spot. No, guys, I might be taking you guys up on that, because first of all, again, character creation, I'm getting used to it just because I've had to do it. Environment creation, no idea. Texturing, no idea. UVing, no idea. Topology, what even is topology? I don't even know. Again, this is just to make Tony look up and wondering what just went wrong somewhere else in the world. Jamie, see, this is perfect. If I can use the B side to my own nefarious ends, and speed up the process, because I was working on a short for the past 3 years that I then just completely abandoned, because it was too much. It was set in space, and as my cat walks across my screen, you'll be shocked to find out that the main idea behind that short was that there was this away team on this very important mission, and the guy in the command center was trying to remotely operate some of the machines, and his cat kept causing trouble by batting at the screen, and there was a big back and forth there. And I mean, dude, I had 3 or 4 minutes of this done. Here's like part of it. This is not the beginning. This is like, but I mean, like, I had this whole setup here where like the away team kind of be like, is going to go land on this asteroid thing. And while the commander guy was working from the screen, this is why I had to stop, by the way, because everything like this part here, like all the screen crap, this is, as you can see, that there's the cat kind of starting to get in the way and so forth. But so yeah, this was going to be a very large scale process. I had all this crap done, and at some point, I was like, I can't even imagine doing the rest of this. It just wasn't going to happen. Because again, every shot, every little scene, every shot was like just weeks, and there were so many shots. But I did love these these character designs, like this little tiny head on the robot. I just thought it was really funny. I have all, and you can see here again. Here's the cat getting ready to pounce on the screen in the in the back. You can't see my stupid faces in the way. But this was going to be an epic tale. And about 3 years in, I was just like, if I were to keep going, it would take me about 7 more years. And sometimes you have to cut bait. Yes, and again, this would be a Discord unifying project. Help me actually finish something. It'd be awesome. And that's Ben. I'm glad you mentioned that too, because again, that's another reason why I kind of wanted to do this. Like, a lot of times when I'm sculpting and stuff, like especially on the League, we're doing things like we did like things like that, a realistic version of the characters from Nightmare Before Christmas, and when I did the Master of the Universe, I want to do a realistic version of it because it's fun, and when you know that you're going to be working for a while on something, it's fun to kind of challenge yourself to be as realistic and as detail oriented as possible. But you're right, like that's not the way a lot of games and a lot of studios necessarily make their characters. So I wanted to kind of try something that was a lot more cartoony. This is definitely not in any way in my wheelhouse. My cat is stepping on my keyboard right now. But again, it's good to kind of like try something new. Oh, B, thanks so much for stopping by, man. Yeah, no, definitely. Hopefully we can kind of get, we can turn this into into a crowdsourced project. Take care, bud. But like you said, Ben, like that's it's true. Like it makes sense to kind of force yourself essentially into these different areas, because I'm not used to kind of characters that are supposed to be kind of like cartoony necessarily. I mean, I do cartoony stuff. I do like some stylized stuff, but usually it's cartoony in the sense of being silly looking and kind of like intentionally ugly, as opposed to this is supposed to be cute. I don't know how far I'm getting there with that. Cute is tough, right? Because if you're sculpting ugly, well, it's easy because there are all kinds of ways to be ugly, but there's really only one way to be to be appealing. If you miss, then you get something weird. By the way, my cat is currently clawing at my face. I think he wants attention. This, as you can see him a lot clearer than Bucky. This is Brewster. He is 17 years old, so he doesn't have time for anyone's crap. He is when he wants something, he's just you pretty much have to just give it to him. And now he's going to walk off. The sheer number of cats' butts you have seen today. I mean, you can't get this just anywhere. But yeah, and as I'm working on this, again, sorry if this feels a little kind of like just here, there, and everywhere. It's like I said, this is kind of like a sketch. So I'm just kind of like jumping around, trying to get a feel for the proportions that I think will be working. That feel will work, say, and trying to do that thing where you kind of convince yourself that it's not, that it's not bad, that you're kind of you're on your way, but you kind of know that there are lots more steps to go, and you have to kind of like just be okay with the fact that in the meantime it's going to look a little rough. I had the same issue last night. I was playing with, if those of you who have been in Discord, maybe you've noticed that I do like to kind of sculpt comic book covers. And I was playing around with blocking in another one last night. I tend to, for whatever reason, I tend to like spawn comic book covers. And I was blocking out another one, spawn 37, which, again, there's nothing particularly amazing about it. I just thought it was kind of creepy. It's got this crazy dude with with no features that I can see. Um, but he's got this knife, and in the knife is Spawn. So I thought that'd be kind of a cool 3D print where I can have basically the knife will be kind of like an opening, and then I'd have another statue in there. And I started like just playing around blocking out the face of that guy, and oh my god, it looks so stupid. Like for the longest time, let's make sure I save this. I'm getting a little paranoid. But I blocked out like just the overall face because it's pure black. You're not going to see it anyway. But I started blocking this out, and you can see here. So like this is where this is how it looks. I started just blocking out the shapes. Again, the hair is literally the same cylinder, just pushed around just to kind of get a feel for the composition. And again, the face. This is so embarrassing, but the face looks like this. I mean, this, I don't even know what even is that. That's not even, I don't know. But so long as it's black and you can't see it, eventually it might make sense. I don't know. But like I was sculpting this yesterday, and I was like, this is the stupidest looking thing. Because again, while I'm sculpting, I see this, like this is not good, folks. This is not good. But maybe if I got ultra black or whatever, that black 3.0, But oh, so am I done with the X-Men? I am not done with the X-Men. The X-Men, I have, I think, 7 down now? Colossus is the most recent one that I blocked out, I think. Let's see. It's going to load now. Yeah, so Colossus. And this is actually, again, this has been really fun to do, these sculpts, because the paint jobs are so weird. Like, I mean, it kind of feels chromy here. But like while you're painting it, like I'm literally I'm painting these crazy blue and black shapes, and you have to kind of like just hope that when it's done, I hope it looks like something. But yeah, this is one of those things where when you need, like when I don't have I'm not feeling terribly like creative, then I'll do stuff like this. What material is that? It's a comic mat. It's a comic material that I kind of made it myself, but not really. Basically, what I did was I took one of these. I think it's one of these framer mats. Again, this is like with ZBrush, right? And yeah, and I just took it. All I did was I just kind of went into the material settings. I just kind of played around a little bit, I think, with some of the features. I don't even know. Like again, like I think I added. Yeah, if I come into my material here, I just played around with the cavity detection a little bit because there's a lot of those comic looking materials. The cavity detection is really high, and like if it's a low res mesh, you can see every little face, and I didn't really want that. So I just kind of played around with knocking down the cavity. Again, honestly, I just started playing around with sliders. Like I don't pretend to know anything about like these different sliders, because I mean I don't know what monochromatic A or B mean. I just kind of I just started playing around. But yeah, so I just kind of saved it because I finally got a setting that I thought was pretty cool. But yeah, and again, Ben, you're right. I mean, when I was first sculpting this, I was just using like blue chrome on it. I was like, yeah, okay, this looks fine. And then I remembered, oh yeah, but when I bring this into say Maya, like I need to actually have all these crazy colors on there. But yeah, this. Oh, Joe, what's up, man? It's good to see you again, Jojo. I have to figure out basically so much of this is it's just hoping that when it's all put together, it's going to make sense. Yeah. So these comic style lines, they're all painted, and most of them are. I went and I made some alphas because I knew I was going to be doing a lot of comic book stuff. So I did a bunch of, I either made or just kind of like found online and kind of saved some different alphas, some different, like basically some basic hatch lines here. I even went in Photoshop and just made basically a long triangle to use as an alpha. So like for things like, these guys here, they're just like long, I just made an alpha for that. So without this material, yes. Let's see. So, and again, by the way, don't look at the legs because you don't see the legs in the final thing. Like as long as it looks from here, you're fine. If I were posing a character for real, I would never pose this. But okay, so let's go here and see. if I have texture maps on, I gotta make sure I turn those off, because apparently when you change materials and you have textures on, the material doesn't change. So let me just turn off. I made texture maps, I think, yeah, so I could send it to Maya, because I'm putting all these guys together into one thing. Just as high res as possible. Okay, so yep. Sorry, let me just go through this. There's probably a way to do all textures at once. I have to imagine there is a way, but I don't know what that is. So I'm just going to go here to my subtool palette and hit all high. All right, so let's go to, say, you know, a regular old like skin shade or what have you, and boom. Oh no, wait. Skin shade. Okay, so now it's going to go here to Z plugins, subtool master, fill everything with that material. So it does. I mean, it still has pretty much the same general look to it. The good thing about the comic mat is that it doesn't seem to kind of get a lot of the same kind of shadowing, and it has some of its own built-in shadowing. So this is what it looks like with just the skin shade material, right? So the paint, it still looks, for the most part, but you can see here, for example, like the occlusion kind of shows up a little bit more, right? I don't know. It just seems a little bit. The comic material kind of feels almost more like almost like a surface shader, where there's no, where there's no shadowing. There is, obviously, in fact, the shadowing is built into the material, which is nice. But I couldn't really get away with that by sending it into Maya, because Maya does have comic materials, to be true, and I might end up using them. But let me see here. So I don't know. I'm trying to remember. Let's just save this before I forget. But I'm trying to remember if I brought Colossus in to this final thing yet. I think I might have brought him in. So my plan for this is to actually animate this cover coming together, like kind of coming. Yeah, it's definitely hand painted. And it's so weird, because I don't know while I'm doing it whether it's going to look good. Like, I just have no idea. So it doesn't look like I brought Colossus in here yet. But yeah, so again, these are the ones that I have in right now. And I have to bring in Colossus. I didn't bring him in because I was too lazy to do it, because I was working at my work computer, and if I brought that Maya scene file home, then I have to relink all the textures. So I wanted to wait until I got home to do it. And my cat is once again making his presence known. But yeah, so this is kind of the idea here, and because this is like, all one thing, it's kind of like an unfolded thing. I have to kind of like find a way to make this almost unfold. But yeah, that's kind of that's kind of where I am with that. I wanted to print this out, but since I can no longer 3D print things because of my allergy, I'm gonna put this STLs out there, and hopefully someone else will 3D print them, because I really want to see it. That'd be kind of cool to see. But alas, it would be really cool if I could have that on my wall. And maybe someday they'll come up with a resin which is not going to make my face fall off like the other one did. Now I'm going to try and work around my cat, who's got his tail in my mouth. It's tough having kids. Come on, bud. There you go. So we're back to this now. Oh gosh. So while I'm sitting here and I can't do anything because my cat keeps standing on my tablet, how are you all doing today? That's what I mean when I say like I have 1,000 projects that like I'm convinced that at some point will get finished. That the X-Men cover, like the thing about that is like the ones that are far away, they're kind of tricky because like they're so small, and I have to kind of like No, like it's hard to kind of get a read on what the paint job looks like on like Archangel, who's really far away, and um, Professor X. Iceman's like way back in the distance. So I guess I should take the pressure off to get it right, but I don't know. I feel like I need to figure that out a little bit more. So again, here are the pants. I'm going to do my patented stupid way of making indentations and something. I'm going to use my little mask lasso and then just push in a little bit, pull out a little bit around there. I don't know why. I like this approach just because it's so weird. It doesn't seem like it's not again it's stylized. I know it's kind of often the word we just use to cover up the fact that we didn't do something right, but I admit it. It's fine. I'm going to do a little bit of that again. I like using the lasso for these kinds of like sharp edge things. Just a nice little cheat. Again, could I just use like the Orb Cracks brush to kind of push in there? Yes, I could. I could. Use standard again. That Trails brush that I mentioned before, that standard Trails. There's another version of it that Mike and I kind of put together, and it's got a little bit of pinch. So it kind of has that trail behind it, but it also kind of just kind of has a little bit more of a pinch to it at the end. So I think, yeah, we got the Happy Trails, which I believe is pretty much the same brush, but it's got this is Mike T's magical brush that he uses a lot. I think a lot of times on his streams, people are always asking him about that brush. And he's got a cooler icon than the standard Trails brush does, so I think it makes more sense to use it. It's all about the icon, guys. I'm just trying to get I want this to feel a little bit baggy. I want this to feel a little bit like it's like almost like she's wearing, her older siblings' clothing. Again, this is, if I were doing this for a statue or something like that, then you're gonna kind of like be a lot more painstaking about how these folds look. But this is really going to be this kind of hinted at with the normal map, perhaps. It's going to be an animated character, so I just want there to be something there to kind of give the impression. It's really kind of more of a mood. Like, yeah, there's lots of stuff here, but also because the boots aren't really finished, they fall weirdly over a very low res mesh. So, but also I just can't quite get this to stop looking bad. So, all right, we'll stick with that for now. Again, I really am kind of anxious just to kind of get this into the into a rig, and because basically anything I do is mostly going to be just part of a texture map, part of a normal map. Beyond the basic forms, I can kind of just export a different map whenever I need to, and just plug that in. Brush again and hold and just kind of sure if I want to bother with themes. I don't think I want to even worry about that. All right, she has a coat. So okay, so I have to think about the actual front here. This is kind of where you're gonna get things like little studs and stuff like that. I'm determined not to have straps going this way. Like I said, I don't want that. I do not want there to be any sort of things kind of floating around the front. Just because why put myself through that? again, I know that she's going to be doing a lot of like bending over and doing things like that. So anything that's going to kind of like get in the way of the front here, it's just stupid. It'd be stupid to do. So I'm not going to do it. Not going to do it. However, I am going to do more straps, but I'm going to do them within the belt. I think that's acceptable. So I want there to be kind of like straps within straps, like little, I don't know, things to kind of tighten it. And I'm going to use a duplicate. I always like to do this whenever I'm to kind of take a copy of the same thing and then just snap pieces off of it. So I'm going to duplicate this. And I want there to be two straps kind of going right across the middle here. So I'm just going to go here to my bevel. And I'm going to bevel this line here and then bevel this line here. I'm going to slide these lines down a little bit. I can't remember. I can't imagine not having Z modeler now. God, how do we ever live without it? So I'm just going to keep these two parts. Complete hidden. Control W to make it all one poly group. And then that's just what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually I'm going to do this. I'm going to extrude it inward a little bit, just so it goes past the actual belt, because I want this to kind of really be sunken in, right? And it's actually inside out right now, right? So I'm going to flip it. But now I'm going to isolate just this group. Completely hidden. I could just have deflated it, but I'm going to do this and then flip it again. So now basically I have these same hoops. They're just kind of sunken in a little bit. And now when I extrude them out, right, I can kind of just extrude them out until they come out past there. So I'm just going to extrude this out until I see them right about there. And kind of like before with the other stuff, these interior faces are completely unnecessary, right? So let's get rid of those. I'm just going to auto group it so that I can isolate those inside faces, complete hidden, right? And now they're gone. I didn't want to have to worry about that. Then once again, auto group. So there's just two here. I'm going to add a couple little bevels here just to kind of essentially behave as adding support edge loops here on the corner. This kind of helps this so that when I subdivide or smooth or whatever, it doesn't get too rounded. Right. Now I'm going to once again auto group. That way I can just go up here to my Z plugin UV, unwrap with poly groups, just to have UVs. I think I'm going to have these maybe just be a slightly different color. So again, I'm just kind of like, at this point, just blocking out things. I don't think that I'm going to end up having it be the exact same color there. I kind of just want it to be slightly different, like that. And again, I want to have like little hoops and rings and keychains and all kinds of. Again, she's a thief, so she's going to have things like that. Thinking about whether or not. See, here's the thing. So for these little flaps down here, I probably should have like a little trim around there. But why? But why? Why would I do that to myself? No. Nope. All right. So I think here at this point we have most of the stuff that we need. I can probably focus now on the face to a certain extent. And get some of that hair actually blocked in, right? Because the face is just, I mean, here's the face. It's very low res looking. It's nothing fancy yet. I want to have a little hint of eyelashes on there. And they're somewhat tricky when it comes to rigging as well, just because it's another thing that has to kind of move with the face, but it's not as bad as all that. So I'm just going to make the eyelashes or something that will stand in for them just by taking a couple of rings, a couple of edge loops here and just making them into their own thing. So I'm going to duplicate the head again and let's go here to solo mode, polyframe, and just going to go here to my Z modeler and I'm going to go to poly loop, grab that. Yeah, that's good. So Control Shift tap. Purchase these. And we'll delete it. So now what I want to do is, let's just make these black here. I'm going to separate top and bottom ones here as well. But let's just isolate these two here. Let's bring the eyes as well, so I can see what's on. Because I want these eyelashes obviously to make sense in terms of their positioning. So let's grab these. Oops. Hold them out a little bit. And again, I might end up, adjusting her face shape at any rate. So there'll be some adjustments, to be done here, which is fine. Again, I'm just trying to get a feel for the character a little bit. So I think right about here is where I'm going to get rid of a couple of these faces. So I'm just going to delete this polygon. I don't want that one. And I probably can get rid of that one as well. Okay. And then I will separate these. So just auto group. Put in. So now I have lower and upper, right? And I'm just going to tweak this shape a tiny bit. But I want to grab the inside of these guys and mask that out. So I can kind of come here and just, again, remember, I am going to make these thicker. So it's not really terrible if you see it go through the skin a little bit here. Just kind of locking in that shape there. Boom. Push this back. We stand to have extra edge loop right here. I'll isolate these, invert that mask. I want these to be a little bit wider here. What is going on with this guy? Now I'm just going to go here and hit mirror and weld. That'll just make sure they're the same both sides, make sure they're the same poly group. Now I can just extrude this out a little bit. I'm going to remove infinite depth, another awesome brush that I kind of remember exists because it's very useful. And now I want to make this so that I can, if I need to, smooth it a little bit. So it's very low res, so I'm just going to add a couple edge loops here. And again, you could crease it as well. I just don't think creases transfer to Maya. They might, but I don't think they do. So I'm just going to subdivide this a couple times just to kind of give myself a little bit of something I can kind of smooth out if I need to. But again, this is going to be adjusted a little bit once I actually sculpt on the face, but to have some indication of what lower lids are. And we'll do the same thing here for upper lids. Now again, the eyelashes are going to be part of the eye. They're going to be kind of attached to what amounts to the eyelid, which I haven't really quite established yet. So what am I doing? I don't know. But you ever do that thing where you kind of like just you can't not like it's like when I first started doing the face. I always forget to do the eyebrows. I always wonder why the face looks so weird and unexpressive, and it's because I forgot to do the eyebrows. So like this is the kind of thing here. If I don't do it now, I might forget. And then I'm like, why does this look so stupid? And, well, there's a lot of reasons, perhaps, but that's definitely one of them. So I just want to kind of get a little bit more of a eyelashy thing happening there. And again, this might be toned down or altogether removed and replaced with something else. But this is part of the sketching process. Whenever I do something in ZBrush that you know, should be better. Just call it a sketch and make it seem like I just did it over the next, you know, over 20 minutes or so, as opposed to working hard on it and just getting frustrated by the fact that it didn't come out well. It's just a sketch. You call it a sketch, no one minds. Draw for masks here. Am I the only one who is so paranoid that whenever you do anything, you just hit 9 just to make sure that, you know, you don't forget that you don't lose it in case you get a crash? Because here's my biggest fear: lower lashes. So her head was, this is just dynamic here. I'm going to start subdividing it for real, just because I want to start feeling like I can do some shaping here. This is another one of those things where I don't know. Like, I always feel like whenever I sculpt, especially when I sculpt female characters, I just don't know how much to do in terms of like adding shapes and indentations. I feel like the more I do, the more like the more rough they look. Find that happy medium between like featureless and too much. Like, she needs to have brows because you can't have expressions without brows. Right? To have eyelids because you have to be able to blink and show emotion. So I just want to kind of like start seeing how it looks when you start doing stuff like that. If you're wondering if this is the first time I've sculpted a character that looks kind of like this, yes, the first time. So be gentle. I always have the most trouble with face shapes. Like, what do you like? What's the face shape that's appealing but not too infantile? Because I always feel like, again, I think I mentioned before, I always feel like I'm sculpting a baby's face. I don't want to sculpt a baby's face. There are people who just like can sculpt these kinds of characters without, and they make it look so easy. And I'm like agonizing over like the jawline. Like, how do you give a jawline to this character and not make them look like they're, you know, got this square jaw? The GeoBrush is really cool. Again, I'm getting the hang of it now. Again, I feel like it's kind of got this. It feels a little bit like an in-between brush between Dam Standard and like the J-Cut brush or Jack-Cut brush, or I'm not really sure how to pronounce it, but it looks. And one of the things about Pablo's brushes too, I always feel like he has them so that like they work really well when you go back over it again, like when you kind of go back and forth. So like, I don't know if that makes any sense, but like if I just sculpt a line here, right? But if I kind of go back and forth, it just seems like it builds on itself a little bit nicer than some of these other brushes do. His brushes are always they're very friendly in that regard. They allow you to kind of like just kind of work quickly and not have to worry too much about that. And in fact, this is where I would definitely use this brush to kind of get a nice little lip ridge on her. This brush and the J-Cut brush, I think, are kind of like, they're kind of similar. They're kind of like sister brushes in a way. Like the J-Cut brush seems to have a little bit more of a pinch when you do it this way, and the Geo brush is really cool for, like, he uses for cloth and stuff like that. It has a little bit more of a dramatic edge to it. But it's like anything else. Whenever you watch Pablo do stuff, you know, he's working on another level. Like, I'm sure whenever you see him use those brushes, like those double action brushes he has, like he's I mean, he made them, so he knows the best uses for them. But yeah, that kind of brush is going to be one of those ones I think where just the more you use it, the more you realize it has so much utility for it, especially cloth, I think. What's that? At some point, I gotta do something with this hair. This hair is, again, I wasn't sure what to do with the hair. I was trying to find a way to kind of like stylize it a little bit. In other words, like not have it just be that standard tapered thing. Like I wanted it to be a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit more weird. I was playing around with things like this where you kind of like here, where you kind of like make it kind of whip around like this and kind of like, you know, like make it, I don't know, like feel a little bit more like this, where it's kind of like dramatic. Like that. I kind of like that idea, but the problem I have with that is that, especially because you don't really see a whole lot of the hair, you just kind of see it coming out from underneath of the head. I'm going to put actually a headband on here as well, like a little metal headband. So it's going to kind of like cover up some of this stuff, but there's just not a lot of room for that hair to kind of play around like that. So I think I just need to just be very simple with it. So what I'm going to probably do here is just kind of create a single version of like one of these, like a version of one of these strands, and then just duplicate and use that bend curve deformer. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm just going to go here to, I'm going to go to a cube. It doesn't really matter what it is. I'm going to kind of swap it out for something anyway. I'm going to go to my polycube here. And I don't need to have much in the way of this, maybe that here. So basically what I want to do is I just want to make this into a deformable tapered thing. That makes sense. A deformable tapered thing. So I'm going to scale it down a little bit here. And I'm essentially going to do what a lot of the hairbrushes do, which is basically just kind of make a profile that makes sense. So I want to kind of like, for example, maybe have like a ridge somewhere, right? So I'm just going to come here and add an edge loop like this. Let's go to solo mode and hide this here. Let's see if we can get this to work. That might get a little bit of a ridge there, add a little edge loop to kind of like, you know, keep that in place. And did too many times. And I want to do the same idea over here, I think. So let's want to kind of grab these and slide them back a little bit. So again, I'm just making kind of like something that gives the impression of clumps of hair. This is, again, like there are like curve brushes that make hair that essentially follow this a similar process here. Let's see if I can bevel this. Can I bevel this edge? Yeah, so I think a little more bevel there. All right. So again, the idea here is not that. That's not the idea. Is to make this kind of tapered piece of hair. So I'm gonna go here and go to taper, maybe, and taper it a little bit here like this. All right. So something like this, and this is going to be kind of my starting point. And again, I don't know how much I'm going to use it, but I'm just going to duplicate this. So now I have a version which is not messed up, and I can now essentially kind of swap out the hair for this. I'll bring back the head too, just so I can see where I'm going with this. But I'm going to bring this like right here. And again, I'm like, I have I have another one of these, which is, which is good. In fact, what I'm going to do? I'm going to duplicate this while it's already in place, and then get rid of that one that was down there somewhere and move it. So now I'm going to come here and go my little bend curve and just start swapping this out for the actual hair. It's a cleaner, lower res mesh that will kind of behave better. I don't want this to be too, because this stuff here is just too blobby. I want this to feel a little more distinct. So let's accept that, and let's just see how that looks and smooth. So it's again, it's a little too harsh. Just do a little smooth here, but I think that'll work. And I could probably just do what I did before, which is just drag out a couple copies of these first. Bring it forward a little bit. Okay, so I'm just going to do a little bit of tweaking here, turn off the hair. Okay, let's bring everything back and then hide that and hide that, hide that. Yeah, I think that'll work a little better. And again, I can do, because these are lower res, I can actually do joint chains on a couple of these just so they can kind of like flop a little bit. That way it won't feel static. I'm going to auto group them so I can isolate one from the other, and just kind of use that as a way of widening it a little bit. Again, I'm perfectly fine with like smoothing out some of those lines there. I just wanted to kind of have something that felt a little bit less perfectly smooth. So, I'll probably smooth that part out better. I might put this down here and just rotate it out. Okay. So I think this is going to be the way I'm going to swap out the hair. I need to make the little headband part. So I think again it'd be kind of a cool way just to kind of make sense of the hair. I don't want to have the hair be everywhere. I don't think she's going to have her hood coming off. So I don't think I need to make an entire head of hair. But if I need to, of course, it's something you kind of go back and do. But that's, again, something you want to kind of consider if you're making a character that's going to be animated. Also don't necessarily feel like you have to make everything unless you need it. So let's grab this here. I'm going to duplicate this guy again because I need this one to kind of go the opposite direction. So let's bring this back, this in the head. Back to bend arc. I used to always use bend arc. I used to kind of be afraid of the bend curve just because it just seemed scary. And I love it. And don't forget too, you can also twist if you're inclined. Little twisties. It's not a bad idea. A little twist going on. And scale. Just really just an amazingly useful deformer. And while I got that curvy one here, I'm just going to see if there's other places that can use that. So looks like we have a couple up there. So I got a copy here. Because again, these are low res. I can control drag out as many copies as I want, and I'm going to probably hold off on doing a lot of them until after I have the headband kind of blocked in. Because again, a lot of these, as you can see, they're just kind of like stuck here, which is fine, because eventually, not going to be the case. Eventually, there's going to be, headband there. But let's just take a look here. Let's just bring everything back, except for the masks. I should just put this in a folder and hide that. But yeah, so yeah, I think that ultimately this will make sense. I'm going to kind of get rid of the ones I don't need now. Okay, so yeah, I think that kind of makes sense. Oh yeah, I think that we're looking pretty good here. Okay, so again, I'm going to play around with finishing up the hair and adding the little doodads and stuff like that. And again, all things being equal, hopefully the folks won't mind if I come back next week. Hopefully you won't mind if I come back next week, and we'll start kind of like making the rig, and I'll start talking about ways to kind of create expressions and different types of facial things to kind of give your character's rig, some flexibility. Because again, if you know going in, you're going to need to have to do a lot of things with the character. That's a good kind of thing to keep in mind. Jamie, you're right. That's exactly. See, when I was in my mind, one of the things that I was planning on, again, she's going to be kind of panicky to try and get the lock open. She's not going to have any success for quite some time. I want to have one of the reasons why the hood is so big is that's going to kind of be in the way. The hair is going to be in the way. I'm planning on making this a real difficult time for her. So yes, every little thing is going to be causing some problems. It's a good idea. And again, the hair, especially, and the hood, it's kind of in keeping with the idea of things being too big for her. So yes, it's gonna cause some problems. And again, in my mind, this is going to be a funny short. Have not written it yet, but I'm hoping that it comes together. Ben, thanks so much. Thanks. Yeah, again, this is so cool. I'm really excited to kind of get moving on getting the process started of getting these characters into things. Because I'm always, one of the reasons why I like 3D printing so much is because I don't want to stop once I've made something. Like I don't just want to make it and say, okay, on to the next thing. I always want to kind of do something else. So 3D printing was a great way to kind of take that another step, right? But the best way for me is creating a whole little world for the characters to kind of exist in. So once you make something, now I want to do something more with it. And a short, you're doing as much as you can. You create an entire world for it and kind of playing around with it. So that's going to be exciting to do, I think, going forward. And again, everyone who stopped by, really, really appreciate it. Thanks so much. This is a lot of fun. Again, anytime, anything that I can do, if there's anything that you want to kind of like play around with or want me to kind of like try stuff out, do it. Because again, this is kind of really a way to experiment with stuff. Jamie, again, thank you so much for coming by. Ben, B, Jojo, Jerchan, everyone who came by. Thanks so much again. I can't wait to do this again next week. Hopefully you'll come by and say hi again. So I'll see you then. Thanks, guys. Thanks again, guys.